Namaste. With just a few more weeks to the virtual World Music Conference on the 11th and 12th of December 2020, I am honored and delighted to be speaking to Professor J.S. Bamrah, CBE, National Chair of BAPIO, and a senior NHS consultant psychiatrist based in Manchester.
Whatever we do, we must think healthy.
There is no health without mental health. Mental illness can come in many forms, and this is a topic many find it hard to talk about even. Why is mental health important?
You're quite right. This is the mantra that I have as well, which is no health without mental health. It's a mantra that came from the World Health Organization, and it is there with the Royal College of Psychiatrists as well, because we do know that if your mental health is good, you can achieve pretty much anything you want to achieve within your limits. So why is mental health important? We know that mental health, if it's badly affected, will also affect your job, your relationships, your own physical health as well. So mental health can actually, in every sphere, it can affect you. And there's the extreme, which is if your mental health is very poor, that you can go on to doing something very stupid, such as patients do self-harm, patients do actually commit suicide as well because they have developed severe depression, that sort of thing. So that is why mental health is extremely important. Also, mental health, we know now people can talk about it, but we know that 1 in 4 adults suffers with mental health issues. So it is pretty common, but we still don't like to talk about it. Particularly, we don't like to talk about it when we come from the Asian backgrounds. Asian background people are particularly uh, um, stigmatized when they talk about mental health.
How has COVID impacted people?
The full extent of this pandemic, we will only realize in time to come because research is already being conducted now. Well, this is something that none of us have witnessed before. Some of our older generation witnessed the wars, the Second World War, the partition. This is something that is the first global crisis that we have witnessed for our generation, generations. We'll remember it for the wrong reasons for the rest of our lives. History will look at this in time and see how we actually cope with this. Now, so why is the COVID-19 pandemic important in terms of our mental health? Firstly, I think there is already an increase in mental illness, as you're aware, globally. Some of that is because there's generally more stress in society from all sorts of things, from jobs, social media creates its own kind of stress. There are no longer those buffers that we used to have. We used to have families, and our families, including in Asians typically live together, multi-generation household. Families are being dispersed around the globe. That had its own pressures, but also it provided us with that solid protection from getting stressed. You could share your problems. And also, we do know that social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, that sort of thing, all creates its own issues within the generations, particularly our next generation. When you talk to your family, your children, grandchildren, parents on WhatsApp or on Zoom, it's not quite the same thing, isn't it? So we're generally an emotional people. We like that contact. We like a hug or two. Jadoo ki jaffi, as they used to say,
Yeah.
we like that sort of thing, and that is lacking. So that provides us with some kind of emotional security. We also know that being isolated is bad for your mental health. We've had 2 major lockdowns in the UK, and all around the world they've seen different kinds of lockdowns in different countries, and that has also created the isolation. Loneliness creates another issue of depression and stress. All that wearing, some people who are claustrophobic don't like to wear a mask or face coverings. Going out into the public becomes a bit of an issue with them. We also know that people, when they're staying indoors, they've become more accustomed to overeating, comfort eating. Some people have taken to drinking more than they would. There's the lack of exercise, and we know that physical exercise is good for mental health. And it creates a different kind of lack of discipline because people are locked down at home. A lot of people are having to work at home. They're having to adjust themselves to a completely different way of life, which we never ever learned how to do, you see. So this is a completely new scenario. And there are also extreme cases where, of course, domestic violence has increased. Now, women are generally at the receiving end of that, unfortunately. So are children. And what has happened is that domestic violence has also increased, that kind of psychological abuse. So that has also created an issue. There are multiple issues. And of course, over time, we will see job losses, and job losses will create a different set of problems, including depression, an increase in suicide attempts.
The pandemic has undoubtedly caused a lot of changes in emotion, behavior, and thinking, leading to increased stress and anxiety in many. What are the solutions to help people cope with during this global crisis? What is your advice?
As a treating psychiatrist, obviously, I've seen a lot of patients. More and more in the last 3 months, who've been seeking help. COVID, for some reason, has created a whole epidemic of mental health issues. This is what I call the hidden epidemic. So people have become insomniac, partly because of the change of routine, partly because of the worry they have about themselves, their loved ones, and catching the virus, and all those grim scenes of their loved ones in hospital and not being able to hug them during the last hours. I think the important thing for us is to remember we're all in it together. Some might have more extreme circumstances. We need to improve our resilience. We need to have a routine. There's nothing worse than waking up in the morning and not knowing what to do. Whatever we do, we must think healthy, have a routine. Make sure in that routine, you're eating healthily and you're doing some physical exercise. Those are two very important issues. And of course, we know, which is the topic which is dear to you, it is also dear to me, that music is very good for you. Remember to do happy things. Yoga, as people will learn from your wonderful seminar, yoga is good for you. Some form of relaxation is good for you. So whether that is yoga, whether that is Pilates, some form of, you could be meditating. You don't have to be religious to do meditation. But some form of meditation it is like, your brain is a complex computer. You've got to reboot it from time to time. You've got to get rid of the trash that is accumulated in the brain from time to time. And so it's important to have a healthy brain. And to have a healthy brain, healthy eating, healthy drinking, preferably very little alcohol, if at all. Healthy exercise is extremely important for you. It's very important for you to have a routine where you build into that some form of relaxation, like yoga, like some music. Make sure that you're connecting with people. Do not be stuck on your own. We're all in it together, and we have to find novel ways of trying to connect with people. So social distancing need not be psychological distancing. What is difficult is psychological distancing. And what we need to do is to reduce the gap of psychological distancing. One of the things I've learned, now, this wonderful thing by video. We didn't used to do this before. I do a lot of my clinics on video now, and I can connect with patients who are far away from me. So it reduces that travel time. So people have more time because they're not traveling as much. There's less pollution. So, we've taken a lot of cars off the road. Pollution has come down as well. You can see blue skies now. You can see the stars. On Karwa Chowk, people could see the moon, massive moon. So, these are all good things that we need to try and catch hold of. We are where we are. What we need to do is have that positivity of mind.
I think that's so very insightful and very valuable advice to all our audience who are watching our chat. I would like to thank you for your valuable time and your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm privileged to be a guest.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.